This tutorial follows a model view service type of architecture. Open up the services folder here. Currently, there is one chat service that we're using for the AI. I'm going to right click on it. I'm going to create a new folder. The folder name is food underscore description. We're going to create a new file in here, underscore underscore init underscore underscore dot py. It's a special file in Python. We're going to use an import statement from CRUD, which we're going to create in the next step. So this doesn't actually exist right now. I'm going to turn off the cursor autocomplete. So from CRUD, it's a file that we're going to create. We're going to import food description CRUD. In here, we'll go underscore underscore all equals food description CRUD. Okay, and then we'll add a new line at the end of it. CRUD is not a pretty word, but in our case of what we're using for technology, it stands for create, read, update, and delete. It's the basic operations of a database. Within the food description folder, I'm going to create another new file, crud.py. It's kind of a funny name, but this is how it is. So we'll create a doc string here. And we're going to use this service to obviously manipulate the data for the database. So this course does use the optional typing. And it's one of the reasons that we are using FastAPI instead of Django. And we are using SQL Alchemy. We've kind of standardized on it. The alternative would be something like Tortoise ORM, the object relational mapper, but SQL from SQL import select func. And you can look all these up on the SQL Alchemy documentation. SQL Alchemy. And it's not coming up. So I just clicked on this, and the virtual environment is not being listed for some reason. Oh. Up. Bin, and then select Python. Okay, now it's doing the auto completion. At least it's finding it. Async okay, auto completion is starting to work. Import async session. I left that in because sometimes the editor is not really working how you think it should work. And it's because usually one of the main problems is it's not using the correct Python interpreter path. What the Python we're using is inside of this, the UV run which Python. It's inside of this project folder. Okay, it's working pretty well. So this is a file we created, right? We just created it in a previous video. So we'll create a standard Python class. This is a name that we're creating right now. So it's a new name of our class, and we'll just put a doc string in here. Okay, we're going to use the standard Python decorator, static method, and with this we won't have to use self. So this decorator is from Python, it's not from FastAPI. So async def, which is also nowadays in standard Python. So the async session is from SQL Alchemy. So again, with standard Python, it will return the food description. We can put a doc string here. About what it's going to do. So we're going to write out the steps. I guess I should call it food so we don't get confused with the product model. Okay, so we're getting the session from up here. Let's grab the result. Session.execute. And we can use the SQL, access the database. Oops, func max. So we're going to look for the food description. And if you remember in our model, we had version where food description dot, and also there was a product ID. I think it might have been food ID actually. It's so nice to have the auto completion with Pydantic product. Oh, Such a food. Beautiful. So thankfully with Pydantic, when we created the model here, it's working with the editor to do the autocomplete. So we had the food ID and I had it incorrectly as product ID, but since it can read this file and do the autocompletion, and then also the versions right here, which is an integer. And it's so nice that we can specify it. The result from up here, it's from the session, and the session is from the async session. The async session is from SQL Alchemy. Okay, so now we're going to create the draft of the food description. So it's the name of our class. And we define the food description in the models file, right? So it's the data model. And we switched it to food D. D. We have it right there. And by default in our model, the status is draft. And it'll be false initially for is published. And again, you can refer back to the model that we created for the structure of the data. So we're going to add to the session. The session is the database session, async session, the food description. And then we're going to await because it's asynchronous IO. So there's async and await, and the await will just go in sequence. It'll wait for this thing to complete before it goes on to the next step. So session dot, we have to commit it. Refresh with the food description, and we'll return the food description. So we'll add some to-dos. ID, which will explain our plan for the functionality. For user, get pending reviews. So we have to think of the workflow as to what we need this class to do. And this will be all the methods within the class. In this video, we set up the structure for the service, the create, read, update, delete, CRUD. Not a very, well, it's not a very sexy name. It's a little funny, actually. And we set up the class for this CRUD service. Within that, we get the version number and we create the initial draft here. So we're going to receive the information and then talk to the database async session. So I think the structure right now, then it's easy to understand. We have to then add additional business workflows that we want to make the app more usable. And we'll cover this section here in a future video.